Hey folks, it's time for the quote of the day, and today I am very, very excited. I get to quote one of my favorite philosophers of all time. I have quoted him before. I've talked about some of his ideas before, even without even giving him credit at times. But I have absolutely put forward his way of thinking here quite often. It's something that is kind of the basis of who I am. Today we are quoting the esteemed philosopher and thinker Karl Popper. Now, if you're not sure who that is, he's been very topical for the past 10 years, really. People have always been talking about him and his concept of the paradox of tolerance, which I'll mention briefly here, but that's not really going to be the point of this video. The paradox of tolerance, just for those of you that need a refresher on it, is basically just the idea, the statement that to have a tolerant society, you must, by definition, not be tolerant of intolerance. Meaning to have tolerant society, to be able to have, open thought, open ideas, to be tolerant of others and their differences, you, by the very nature of tolerance itself, have to be intolerant. You have to say, no, we will not accept intolerance here. We will not accept you not accepting, let's just as an example say black people, say non-Christians, say non-Americans, right? Like if you are somebody who is not tolerant of others, then the people that are trying to continue in a tolerant society must therefore be intolerant of you. This is the paradox of tolerance, stating that basically to be tolerant, you must also understand when it is important to be intolerant. It's a very basic concept. It's very simple. It's very, very true. History has shown it over and over and over again. When we fail to be intolerant of intolerance, horrible shit happens throughout history. I can think of a few off the tip of my tongue, but I'm not going to say them because I don't want that to hurt the video. Let's just say, Germany, then you know where I'm talking about. If you tolerate intolerance, then these are the kinds of things that happen. And that's not the only example. It's happened throughout history over and over. And it really doesn't matter which side of the political aisle you're on for this. This is the truth. This is factual. Now, Karl Popper literally changed the way that the entire world thinks. That's just one aspect of it. That he has so many ideas that are very, very important to the way the world thinks. And unfortunately, right now, because of social media, some of them have fallen out of favor. And I think that that's a shame. So I want to talk about one in particular, and that is the concept of falsifiability. Now, this is a term that is usually used for science, but it can also be used for a lot of other things as well. Basically, until Karl Popper brought this forward, the scientific community tried to prove things right. They would have a hypothesis, and then they would say, okay, let me prove this is right. And lo and behold, a lot of times they would prove shit right because they went into it with kind of a preconceived idea of how to arrive there, and therefore they could get there. Karl Popper put forward the idea that, well, that's great and all, but that doesn't actually prove anything. That just proves that you have a particular way of doing things that are going to lead to repeated successes in trying to accomplish one particular thing. If you want to prove if something is correct, then disprove it. You need to try to make it false. You need to try to take whatever your idea is and beat the shit out of it and see what comes up. See if it still stands up afterwards. That's the basic idea of falsifiability, and this goes for not just science but for any belief system. This was a challenge not just to the scientific community to really challenge their own ways of doing things and their own beliefs, but to religion and pseudoscience and spirituality and things like that. This was a rebuttal to these things, not in a way of like, you're stupid if you believe these things, but have you ever thought about why you believe them? Have you ever thought about this, the kind of dogmatic belief that you have to hold on to believe them? And then have you ever challenged them? Like that's the key here, is that if you have a scientific idea, you challenge it to see how it stands up to it. If you're trying to break it and it still stands up, then it's probably closer to true. And the same thing should go to your way of thinking about the world, at least according to Karl Popper and myself. I believe that everything should be challenged this way. Do you believe in God? Okay, well, challenge that belief. Do these things stand up? Do you believe in whatever religion? Okay, challenge it. Don't just accept it, challenge it. Really challenge it and see how it stands up. What part of it do you believe in? Do you believe in astrology? Okay, challenge it. Like, that's fine to believe in it, but then challenge your beliefs. Think about them, process them, really try to, you know, poke holes in them, if you will. And what you find is that when people just say, well, I believe this, or I accept this, or this is true, a lot of times people will bend themselves into all sorts of knots. They will do absolutely just completely ludicrous and oftentimes dangerous or hurtful things to make their particular view of reality work for them, right? Like they will decimate entire societies. We have genocides over whether or not people believe something is right. People will do that to themselves internally. They will destroy entire aspects of their personality to make it so that some certain thing they believe to be true is true. Karl Popper attacked the idea of certainty. He said, you cannot be sure of anything, and that included science. Science can't be certain of anything, and a scientist that says they are is probably not doing their job right. The reality is that you look for things that are, basically hold up to all sorts of punishment. You look for ideas that can hold up to really being beat on, really being challenged, really being hammered at, and as they rise above that, they become stronger and stronger and stronger. Do they become irrefutable? No. Nothing is. And that's his point, is that there is always going to be some certain exception to something, right? Like I can sit here and I can talk about, how I don't believe in astrology, and there are people out there that will absolutely believe in it. And the reality is that my take on it, unfortunately for those of you that do believe in it, is going to be proven true more often than not. However, that doesn't mean I'm right all the time. And that means that sometimes there will be a point where you'll be right. But if I'm right 90% of the time and your star chart is right 10% of the time, I'll take my 90%. And the same thing goes for science, and the same thing goes for religion, and the same thing goes for every other thing. You can't ever be 100% correct about anything. You have to allow for exceptions. And I think that this is important. This is a good way of thinking. It doesn't really matter what it is. You can believe whatever you want to believe, but understand that if it is unchallenged, then that's all it will ever be. It will just be a belief. And more often than not, in any sort of challenge that comes about, it will crumble. It will fade. You will immediately see the holes poked into it. And that is something that is difficult for a lot of people because they build their entire reality on these false notions that it is irrefutable, that it's true, but they don't ever challenge it themselves. Now, this being said, all of this being said, it was hard for me to pick just one quote from Karl Popper because this is a man who, quite honestly, a good portion of the way that I think comes from my understanding of reading what I have of his. I haven't read everything that he's ever written, but I have read two and a half really of his books. I'm just being honest. I didn't finish one of them, but I've read two and a half of his books, and it just seeped into me. So I had a really hard time, but I think that this one sums it up. I think that this one sums up what I'm trying to get at here. And I think that, especially in terms of today's world, where you have so many people that just dogmatically believe bullshit, whether it be something they heard on the internet or something that their friend group told them or something that their parents told them or something that they've come about on their own and they've just never challenged it. I think that this quote really is very, very important. Karl Popper once wrote, ignorance is not a simple lack of knowledge, but an active aversion to knowledge, the refusal to know, issuing from cowardice, pride, or laziness of mind. Let me read that again. Ignorance is not a simple lack of knowledge, but an active aversion to knowledge, the refusal to know, issuing from cowardice, pride, laziness of mind. Now, how many of you believe in things that you believe in and refuse to challenge them? How many of you do that because you can't imagine a world without those beliefs? I'm not saying that you are necessarily wrong. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm saying that I can challenge your beliefs and that you should too. I challenge my beliefs every single day because I am a very firm believer that Karl Popper was right about this. And so to that, I say happy birthday to him, and to the rest of you, please Take care of yourself. Take care of others. I'll talk to you soon.